You cannot live in your house. I said, this is our home. And where are we going to live? And he said, I don't know.
This is Mount Messenger, a native paradise nestled in the heart of North Taranaki. Tony and Debbie Pascoe live in this beautiful valley on the edge of Mount Messenger. They've spent a combined total of more than 90 years living amongst some of New Zealand's most pure, unscathed, tranquil environments. Then suddenly the insatiable desire for money and development posed a deadly threat to the Pascoes' peaceful paradise. This would all become a highway. In this documentary, we'll meet Tony and Debbie Pascoe. We'll take a walk through their home valley, and later on, we'll explore some of the political corruption taking place behind the scenes. You won't believe what you're about to watch.
Kei whea te kore mako e ko, ki mai koe ki aha. He aha te mea nui, he aha te mea nui o te ao, maku e ki atu. Tangata, he tangata, he tangata, he.
I'm Tony Pascoe. I'm 61 years old. I've lived in this valley and in this home all my life. I met Debbie, my wife, just over 30 years ago. In 2017, on the 1st of September, Nzta announced through Simon Bridges the bypass in Mount Messenger is going to come down through this valley, which we highly disagree with because there's going to be over 100 acres of native bush destroyed, as well as 2 crystal clear natural waterways. Because of this bypass, supposed bypass going through our home, through our valley, it is devastating to us to think it's going to happen, to absolutely devastate such a beautiful place. We've got a pretty tight community that is supporting us very greatly. We want to stay here for the rest of our lives, and we want our next generations and all the generations after that to know how beautiful and natural and clean this valley and this area is. We're back in the heart of our valley. It is just so picturesque. We've got a beautiful, beautiful clear waterway, as clean as you can get. Tranquility of back here is just unbelievable. It is so pure, it clears your mind, it is peaceful. There's so many birds living back in here, and they're happy, they survive. It is unbelievable. At night time, if you come back here, the kiwis are calling, the morkborks are calling, and I've been back here at 4 o'clock in the morning and the long-tailed cuckoo is calling to another one way down the valley. You can see the eels in the creek. There's a pond back over here further. We counted 9 crayfish that were just living in their own world, not disturbed. The food in here is abundance for everything to survive. And if this proposed road goes through, this will all be destroyed. The ancient forest that's in here and this beautiful, beautiful clean water will be gone. The life in here will not survive The feeling in here to us and the people who are brought back here, they feel at peace. It's very peaceful. Your well-being is just enhanced. I get pretty emotional about it because I've lived it all my life. I've come back here when things have been really bad and I've felt so much better. So this is very, very special to us and a lot of other people. This is home to 23 or more native species of birds, 9 of which are endangered. We've got the kiwi, there's lots of kiwis breeding in here. And we've got bats in here, the long-tailed bat. It is so exciting to come back here and see the bellbird, the tui, but then you've got your little grey warbler. And because of so many insects in here and so much life of so many different varieties of native trees, a lady came up here a while ago, she said to me, every native tree is in this valley I use for my Maori medicine that is undisturbed, it is clean and crystal because there's no human intervention. It stays beautifully and clean and pure. And all the springs all the way down through the valley and all through the wetlands, they breathe, they're undisturbed. It is so unique in a valley like this because it's close to civilization and a main road, and yet it's like it's 100 miles away because you cannot hear the road. It is not disturbed by a modern world. One of the colleges actually said to us, they renamed this valley Bat Alley. So many bats lived in here in their own environment. And that's very special to us because they're very endangered. It's something that people just don't see, but they're in this valley. We need to protect them.
Death to the creatures who happened here first. Death to the innocent, endemic at birth. Build on their dwellings, knock down their trees, plough fields to kill them, pollute their vast seas. When they're endangered or extinct has beens, they'll promptly be missed like the poor thylacines.
The ratas grown on the pungas here. Over this last summer, they were just so full of flower. The pigeons, they were that fat, they were struggling to fly. It was just so alive. There was just so much food in here, so much fruit on these trees. It was one of those summers and everything was just thriving. And the water never dries up in here, the springs never dry up in here. To pipe it, track it, pipe it, put 3 roads in here, it'll just be devastating. It'll just be catastrophic of the damage it will do to this natural world in here. And I think a lot of people can't get their head around it because it's how much do we have to destroy to make a 3 or 4 minute faster road.
Yes, this bypass will save 3 to 4 minutes in comparison with the existing road. However, an upgrade of the existing road will reduce that to only 25 seconds.
In here the fog gets that thick you can't see 30, 40 feet in front of you. When we have frosts in here for 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 days on end, it gets down to -8, -9. The frost stays up and sticks up in the dirt all day. They make a very slippery road, a dangerous road, a very wet road. It's people's lives that I'm worried about, very worried about. There's probably so many things in here we don't know about. Like on the tops of these trees, what different insects, what different spiders, native spiders, that hasn't really been explored yet. Back in here that's never been milled, never been logged. There's 600 and 800 year old trees, they could be older. There's massive ratas, there's massive remus, massive cockatiels, massive matais back in the gully further that only survived because man hasn't been in here to destroy it. That alone has got a huge potential of New Zealand being clean and green and pure and looking after our environment. We can't destroy it in our generations because it won't be here for the next generations of young people coming through that can study all this and be happy about living amongst and leaving it to its natural beauty.
We live in Ahotiri, a place in New Zealand, nestled among the flora native to this land, with ridges reaching to the sky, covered with native trees. Along the valley floors, it is plain to see. Rivers running through the land, heading for the sea. Nestled amongst the trees, in the gentle breeze, native birds singing, happy as can be. Further back the valley, you may even see a wild pig rooting underneath the trees. It is these special treasures that we hold so dear, and why we are so grateful that we can be here.
2016, we seen an article in the paper that they're investigating a bypass through Mount Messenger. We arranged a meeting with Andrew Hopkirk to look at an agreement. He said we don't need a lawyer, he works for Nzta, but he'll look after our interests. From then on, there was a constant amount of people day and night on our property, and we weren't aware of it. One night in particular, they were on our property at 10:30 at night. We had no knowledge of it. This guy kept shining his flashlights in my eye. Asked him to turn it off, he didn't. It was just chaos because nobody knew who anybody was. To get the CPT rig in, they did 2 days of tracking and drainage in our wetlands. In NZTA's later environment assessment, they had already damaged and altered the environment. The huge invasion of people chased our cattle up and down the valley several times a day, which caused pugging in our wetlands. 2 days before the announcement of the bypass of Mount Messenger, 4 representatives from NZTA come to our home to tell us what route had been selected. They said this eastern route through our home valley had been selected. I said, this is our home, and where are we going to live? And he said, I don't know. At our first meeting with our lawyer in NZTA, Russell started to tell them about Debbie's ancestry. They didn't want to know.
Tony's wife Debbie has Potama Māori ancestry. This means she is obliged to protect her ancestral land. She also has full authority to decide what happens on her land. NZTA are ignoring all of this, so we spoke to Tamawaru Hunt, who was also part of the Potama iwi.
Tēnā koutou. Ko Tamawaru Hunt tōku ingoa. Tony went on to marry his wife Debbie, who's also part of the Potama hapu.
We rear up to 100 calves in our sheds and graze up to 40 cattle in our valley for this time of the year. The agreement was that our cattle be moved and our calves to be rehoused before any work was to start in the valley. The morning after we signed the agreement, a helicopter arrived to start work. Our calves were scared, hitting the walls, hurting themselves, bleeding. I rang Andrew Hopkirk to stop work. He said, Tony, Rob Napier just wants to get on with this, and that's what's going to happen. Our lawyer advised NZTA to stop work in our valley immediately, which they did not. It went on day after day. NZTA or the Crown have not fulfilled or honoured the agreement.
Kia ora, I'm Russell Gibbs. Been involved in helping Tony and Debbie, or Pasco whānau, for a couple of years with this Mount Messenger bypass issue. Debbie's whakapapa is part of Potama, and Pasco whānau sitting on their ancestral land. Until you see 3 big burly men standing over people in their house aggressively, it's not something that you think would happen until you see it. NZTA are treating neighbouring Māori landowners very differently in this process, including resourcing one and not the other. They were carrying out ecology assessments while they had helicopters flying up and down the valley and drillers working in the valley with a number of people. The ecology assessments were all compromised because of this. Ordinary people can't afford to employ expert witnesses. NZTA being a wealthy organisation, not being able to challenge what they're saying and what they're doing. The court tends to use technicalities against ordinary people with the concept of expert witnesses. Expert witnesses can make statements outside their field of expertise or repeat a statement their project managers made, and the court's saying because we're not experts we can't challenge that. Our overwhelming impression of the process is the court is facilitating outcomes for Crown departments.